What about the link to the thing? Oh boy. Oh boy. I wasn't ready. This is how we're starting season 2 right now. Alright. There's the link. Alright. I gotta be able to see the chat and everything, because we like to stay interactive here on Push to Shout. Season 2, episode 51. We're
Hello,
back.
everybody.
We're back.
I jumped the gun. I started a second too early.
We're back.
But yes, we are back. This is us coming live at you. I think you're hosting tonight.
Whatever.
That would have been good to hammer out beforehand, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Also, I haven't even written down the stuff that I want to talk about or anything because I'm still eating dinner. This is just a professional production on here. That Push to Shout.
Okay, I do want to share this little bit of professional wizardry with the several to 0 people in here right now. And that is, let's do a live demonstration.
You're watching the audio version of the podcast.
Wow, look at that. If you are listening to the audio version, you saw the word magic appear at the bottom of the screen. In your mind's eye, picture that. So now we can display state-of-the-art text, I think they call it, on the screen for your eyes to feast on. And basically it'll let you skip around and see what we're talking about at any point in the podcast. Timestamps were how we used to handle that, but they take a while to do because we have to listen to it and then check, like, okay, this is where we transition from one part to the other, and then even then it was hardly accurate. This we can just kind of move from one thing to another and do it pretty naturally. And
if you donate at least $5, we'll give you a jump scare, and we'll read off any of the text that you send us live on stream. So donate.
Yeah, it's
now.
gonna play a loud sound clip from one of our past shows, and then say, well, thank you for subscribing and all that, because that's who we are now. But yeah,
thank you, DraftKings, for sponsoring our podcast.
DraftKings, FanDuel. I'd like to give a big shout out to FanDuel for all their support. But yeah, people said that the last layout that I tried for episode 50 was kind of not intimate, and I agree. So I took the names out, and this time it's actually something useful. So yeah, that's podcast news.
We need to kiss each other. I don't know what that looks like on the stream, but anyway,
it didn't work out.
All right. So
just like our relationship wouldn't.
Yeah. We keep it strictly professional here on Push to Shout. So we've been gone for like 2 weeks, and there's been more video game news coming out than I think either of us have been really playing video games. Although I do have some new ones I've been playing, and I know we've seen some movies and whatnot. So I want to start it out with you so that I can collect my thoughts since you jumped the gun on me here.
Oh yeah.
So go ahead and tell us what you've been up to besides final exams. I don't want to hear about your stupid school shit.
Well, let me tell you, Skip, my exams have been really stressful, but I managed to take a break from them and watch The Martian. You recommended it last week, or I don't know if you did recommend it. You said it wasn't.
Well, 2 weeks ago. I said it was fine.
We did take a break.
Fine.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was a good whatever.
I wouldn't call it great, but
yeah,
it's still, I'd say it's more than fine. I really enjoyed it. It was a very cool movie.
It's best if you fucking love science.
I fucking love science.
That's how you can really appreciate that movie.
I fucking love science. But it was shot really well, and it was really nice to look at. I heard on the Mega 64 podcast, Derek Acosta shitting on it because he said it's like Jesse Pinkman in space and just cracking wise constantly and just a dumb movie for dumb people, and you should feel dumb if you like it. But I didn't get that. I thought it was maybe a little much sometimes, like, I'm gonna science the shit out of this.
Yeah. There was some Redditry in there.
It was still, when it was funny, it didn't feel forced most of the time.
I laughed at the space pirate line. I thought that was good.
Yeah, and the whole theater certainly did.
Yeah, and I just it's a fun movie, and fuck, what was I gonna say about it? Shit.
Well, you know what the real barometer for the quality of a movie is? What? So I saw this movie with my dad in theaters. because I was seeing the new house and everything, and he falls asleep in every movie we've ever seen in a theater, because it's like, you know, when we were kids and we would go to see, I don't know, some Disney whatever action movie, the Yu-Gi-Oh movie I saw with my dad
Oh
when
my
I was a kid.
God.
And you know what? To him, these times are like you pay to sit in a dark room and not have to worry about anything for 2 hours. But he stayed awake during the whole movie of The Martian, which is impressive. So
I remembered what I was going to say, and it wasn't actually about The Martian. It was about Mega 64.
oh,
I think I've mentioned this before. They're some of my favorite people on the internet. I love them. I love the things they do. They also have some of the worst opinions when it comes to everything on this planet.
Rocco's pretty
Lost, good. But it's the Lost. I get caught up on Lost. They're obsessed with Lost, and it was a terrible show. It went way off the rails, and they like it. And that's where I formed this core of my realization that they have actually bad opinions. And I don't know. I can't think of a lot of specific examples, but every time they bring up like their taste on something, it's like, oh God. They do like Evangelion, so I guess they've got that going for them.
That spoiler cast was really good that they did. But yeah. I don't know. I wind up agreeing with Rocco a lot. He did release a video where he basically defended Metal Gear Solid 5's ending at length. So yeah, sometimes, you know, just there's a clear difference. But yeah. He had this really great tweet once about why you should read the comments and actually put effort into filtering out, like, he was responding to the popular YouTube people who say, you just don't read the comments, you know, it's all bullshit. And he's saying, you know, you should actually be able to look at them and recognize constructive criticism.
He does come from a biased perspective, though, because they have one of the better fan bases on the internet. Like, if you look at their YouTube comments, it's legitimately funny stuff and not, like, complete garbage.
But they have it because they were good enough to cultivate a fan base like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're PewDiePie, you're going to get bad comments. It's just going to happen. You've brought this on yourself. So, PewDiePie, you know, first of all, thank you for listening to the podcast. Secondly, just don't worry about the trolls in the comments. Have you done anything else? Have you played any video games? Tell me if you've played any video games. Okay,
I played 2 video games. I played both of them yesterday because
I have been these video games.
I have been like very busy lately, as you told me not to talk about. But it's been crazy. All midterms happening basically the same week. Everybody knows how it is. I don't need to talk about it much more. And then it was all done yesterday, and I finally got to play some video games. So what better video games to sit down and play than Life is Strange, the final episode, and Minecraft Story Mode?
Yeah, what could be better?
Well, my 2 games of the year, certainly. Okay, I guess I'll start with Life is Strange. I streamed both of these, by the way. You can go back and go to twitch.tv/brutalcumpowdersalt, and you will find my VOD for that. It was bad. It was bad. It was fucking horrible. And I'm not the only person saying that, or not the only person, but the fans of Life is Strange, who by the way exist, they don't like this ending, and they hate it. And I'm just gonna, we're gonna really test the metal of this text thing. Life is Strange spoilers. And no, I'm not doing the mute thing right now. So there's going to be some spoilers of Life is Strange. When you see this text go away, no more spoilers. So what people are pissed off about is the very, very end. At the very, very end of Life is Strange, you have to make a choice. You either save Chloe, your best pal Chloe, the dyke blazer, fuck dad guy, girl.
Guy.
Whatever.
You know, gender's a fluid concept, so.
Pirates. Whatever. And
go on.
Or you can save the entire town full of people. The reasoning for this is that the time travel is what caused that tornado, which just doesn't make any sense on any level, like plot-wise or anything. And I've long since stopped caring about the story of this game. And I basically
You mean the
stopped
one
caring
thing
immediately.
that it's supposed to have going for it?
Yeah. But it was really, really funny because the whole, what it seemed like at first, I was giving it too much credit. I thought that this time power that you have was somehow related to like another supernatural event. This obviously not normal hurricane or tornado. But no, it's just you caused that. And this is the explanation they give. This is where I really learned to fucking love science. Warren, your White Knight Warren pal, you talk to him, and he says, it's chaos theory. Every action has a reaction.
Yes, definitely.
And that's all. That's all you get. And then after that, it's just assumed that your time travel is what's causing this tornado, and there is no way to save anybody else if you save Chloe. It's just a very dumb, like, last-minute choice between two extremes that doesn't make sense. And what they wanted you to do is like, oh, do I love my friend that I just bonded with after all this time, or do I love this town full of people that I love? Blah, 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 blah. But my choice at the end was just, what do I care about less? Which is not what they were going for.
No, I don't think so.
I decided to save Chloe because it means more of these characters die. And that made me happy.
Yeah. I had never really seen long periods of gameplay in that game, but I did watch the part of you playing where the guy comes in the room and the other guy's waiting for him with a tripod.
Yep.
And
that's a great scene.
I guess that really demonstrated the mechanics of the game, the time travel mechanics. It seemed that seemed like a really terrible mechanic, but it was hilarious and completely unintentionally.
So let me set the scene. You are trapped in a chair, and Mr. Jefferson, the good old-fashioned hipster, he's drugging you, and he's literally about to inject you with a lethal poison, and then suddenly David comes down the stairs, and you have to warn him about Mr. Jefferson, otherwise he'll die. And it's just the stupidest. First of all, this guy's a veteran, but he walks with his gun like held out at arm's length around a corner, so he's easily disarmed. And then you have to go back and warn him that that's about to happen. And then something else goes wrong, so you have to go back again and warn him about the new thing. So what it really comes down to is you watch the whole thing play out, and then you rewind and look for a new button prompt on the screen so that you can warn him. And he just dies over and over again, like 6 times.
In a really pitiful way, too. Yeah. He just gets shot. He doesn't, like, make a noise or anything.
He just falls
over. I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, that game's real silly. Real silly. I thought that looks terrible.
It was.
It was the worst possible
awful
way you could do a time travel mechanic. It's like, there's no actual cleverness to it or anything. You just have to wait for something to happen and then rewind and make it happen differently.
The gameplay peak of the series was in the very first episode, where you have to solve this puzzle and make a paint bucket fall on a bully. And even that was kind of dumb and convoluted. Like this one, they're all bad, but the early episodes at least had sections like that, or where you would look around and gather evidence, and it felt like a mystery game, which was one of its only assets, really. That sense of mystery and what's going on in this crazy universe. There was never really an answer for that, besides your time powers have messed everything up. Well, where did they come from in the first place? Anyway, that's a huge digression.
That game does appeal to me a lot as like a gamer and gamer culture, because there's that part with the train, and written on the side of the train was 1337. Mm-hmm. Which, for you guys who don't know, it's kind of an inside gamer talk.
I am hella with you on that one, Skip.
It's like a trash talk thing, and it's like elite, but it's spelled out in letters and numbers instead of letters, because it's like, yeah, it's a thing you wouldn't understand, viewers.
Back to my point on the gameplay. You spend half of this episode just watching stuff happen, and not like participating in conversations and having dialogue choices. I mean, you have to sit there and wait for cutscenes to play out, or you're just walking from point A to point B and looking at stuff. It's it was boring even by this series standards. So
Well, speaking of boring,
terrible.
you later went on to play.
I did. I went on to play Minecraft Story Mode, and that was a real treat. Except it wasn't.
I couldn't keep watching that one. I just couldn't.
It was
I
so
couldn't do it to
boring.
myself.
It wasn't even like cringy or
No.
anything that you might expect it to be.
I mean, it's cringy, but not in like an entertaining way.
Yeah,
it's just cringy
boring.
in like a oh god, just like no.
Life is Strange was funny enough to me, in an ironic way, to play through to the end. I
Sure.
will not be doing that for Minecraft Story Mode.
No.
Because really, it's much more polished than any other Telltale game. That's the nicest thing I can say about it, because they had a lot of money to make this. It's a huge
And it will
IP.
probably make a lot of money too.
Yep, probably. Massive IP, the smoothest animations Telltale's ever put out somehow. It runs really well, it's slick. It looks better than Minecraft, which is also a first for a Telltale adaptation. But it's just... I don't know. I have nothing to say, really.
No, there isn't anything. That's why I stopped watching.
It's
It was
very
just like,
long.
oh, there's nothing about this that could even be ironically entertaining.
It's long. People talk for huge amounts of time.
The music is just this generic background, like even worse than the stock Minecraft music, just like completely unremarkable.
Well, I don't know about
Oof.
stock Minecraft music. I mean, that's one of the best... To me, that was always one of the best things about Minecraft, was that it had a nice atmosphere with the music.
Sure. Yeah.
But this, it just feels... Like, you know that song in the trailer where it just feels like a generic trailer song? Like, dun,
Yep.
dun, dun. That's the whole soundtrack, basically.
Yep.
That song I heard 4 different times in different arrangements over the course of this episode. And just Patton Oswalt is so wasted. Not that he's like some grand talent or anything, but all these performances are just completely phoned in. There's this character named Axel. He's the goofy guy, the funny guy in the trailer, who's like, I'm gonna steal that, and that's how he delivers all of his lines. Everything he says is like, but when are we gonna get outside then? And you're supposed to laugh. He's meant to be the comic relief character, but he's just so bored. Everything he says, it feels like he's being forced to in real life. Like the actual voice actor just wanted to go home and take a nap.
And I'm sure he did.
Yeah,
and
even
I'm sure they
Patton
had to record a
Oswalt.
lot of lines too. That's the thing. Is like it seems like there's a whole lot of dialogue in that, and just none of it is interesting.
Yeah, even good old Remy the Rat, who had, a very lively voice. Patton Oswalt just sucks. He sucks in this.
Yeah.
Everybody sucks in this. And the whole thing sucks. But not in any kind of entertaining way, so I really don't have anything more to say about it.
I've got a good video game to talk about positively.
Please.
Tomorrow Corporation, the people who made Little Inferno and World of Goo, have come out with their newest game called The Human Resource Machine, and I played some of it yesterday. The concept, it's really interesting. You're a corporate grunt, and you're working your way up through the ranks of a corporate structure. Literally, it's a skyscraper, and you start at floor 1 and make your way up, and each floor is a different puzzle challenge, and the puzzle it's basically programming puzzles. You're doing very basic programming actions, so like it's gonna be really hard to explain, but I kind of want to explain it because it's so unique.
Give it a shot.
You're in a room, and there's some squares on the floor that are empty that you can place stuff in, and there's a conveyor belt that's an inbox and a conveyor belt that's an outbox, and basically it gives you an instruction like, here's what we want in the outbox at the end, and then it gives you a list of commands that your worker will follow. You program him to do an action, and it starts out really simple. It'll be like, all right, for every box that comes in the inbox, and all the boxes are numbers, anywhere between 9 and -9, and he said, and so like the worker will give you a challenge like, all right, for every box that comes through, double it and put it in the outbox. And so you write a program that says, grab from inbox, place the box on the floor, and then use an add command on the box on the floor, and it'll add the thing in your hand. It's kind of complicated to explain, but basically, yeah, you're creating this program, and it gets super complicated to the point where it'll be like, all right, multiply each box by 40. But you don't have a multiplication command, you only have add commands, and so you have to, like, the solution is basically like you're doubling it until it gets to 32 times, and then you're also doubling a separate one at the same time to 8 times, and adding those together to come to 40, and you have to kind of think around these solutions with a limited number of, like, spaces on the floor to work with, which is basically your memory, and then there's challenges that'll say, like, all right, how many lines of code did you use? And if it was less than 14, then you win this challenge. And how many actions did it require to complete the challenge? And if it was less than 70, then you win this challenge. And
is it code, or are you arranging a factory?
It's not laid out like actual code, but it is basically, there's only like 8 commands total, I think. And
so the logic is represented in the
and
game?
it's just words. The logic is just words. There's inbox and outbox, and copy to, copy from, which is used to make and remove memory from the floor, and add, subtract, and jump, which basically moves the. So it moves down. You place these commands in a list that's in order. And if you use a jump command, it'll move somewhere else on the list. So usually you're going down the list, but then you get to the jump command and you'll say move back to the beginning. So there's always a jump command at the end that goes back to the beginning so that you can repeat the process if there's multiple boxes coming in. But it gets really complicated because there's also, like, jump if 0 and jump if negative. And so that's when you start going into, like, there's actually, like, I'm actually working with binary on the latest. I've only played a couple hours. But on the latest one I'm kind of stuck on, you have a 1 box and a 0 box already on the floor, and you have to use that binary system and the conditional jump commands to program this thing, and it's like, all right, if every box that comes in, if it's negative, do this, and if it's positive, do this, and all this kind of crazy stuff, and it gets really complicated. And the challenge comes from making it as simple as possible. There's very few lines and very few actions, and it sounds like a nightmare probably. But I've never done programming or anything. The closest I've ever gotten to programming is the wire mod and Gmod. So, like, if I can understand it, anyone can. And it's so satisfying to get the solution and get the challenges because you feel like a genius. Like, it. To me, the solutions to these puzzles are, like, more satisfying than almost any other kind of puzzle because you really feel like you're building and creating something rather than just doing what you always feel like you're subverting what they expect you to do, even though you're probably doing exactly what they want you to do. So it's crazy. And there's also, like, some kind of surprisingly biting satire of, like, corporate culture and stuff in there, which is, it's fun. I cannot recommend it more. I think it's like $10 and it's totally worth it. So if that interests you in the least bit, go play it because it
kind of does.
I've liked everything they've put out, and this is no exception.
You always suggest these style. Like little games that sound really cool, and then I always forget to go play them.
Yeah, I need to just compile, like, a list of them.
Jazz punk this. You should do the Steam curation thing.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's a good idea.
You could become the new Turtle Biscuit. Actually, that I don't know how much we're going to talk about that, but that's actually bad.
Oh yeah. For those who haven't heard, Total Biscuit is what his cancer that he was working on for the last, like, couple of years, I think, has I don't know the technical terms or what exactly is going on, but basically they couldn't quite get all of it, and so
the cancer metastasized to his liver and is incurable. And
yeah, I was pretty sad to hear that, but he's got a really good attitude about it, and he posted some stuff about it.
Yeah,
and it sounds like he's
got the best attitude you can have about it.
Yeah, yeah. So,
and his podcast is still continuing. Just
good for him. I'm glad for him. But yeah,
it's tough.
That's a neat game, and yeah, I do need to work on something to compile. I just find out about these tiny little games. The next one that I want to play, I think the next thing on my list is going to be Rebel Galaxy. Have you heard of that one?
No.
It's like I think it's partly procedurally generated, but it has like a actually written main quest. But it's like the did you play Assassin's Creed 4?
No. I've only played the first Assassin's Creed.
Are you aware of like the ship combat
Yes.
in Assassin's Creed 4? Apparently, it's kind of like that in space. So you've got the spaceship, and it's 3-dimensional, but you're basically moving along a 2-dimensional plane, and you've got like broadside cannons and stuff, and you're getting in these space battles, and it has like this very, very distinct. It's been used a lot, but that kind of Firefly, Cowboy Bebop, like cowboys in space kind of theme to it, and this really awesome soundtrack that's like guitar based. And it actually I saw like 10 minutes of gameplay tops of that thing, and I kind of wanted to play it, and I stopped watching because I kind of didn't want to know anything about it. But it also got me to start watching Cowboy Bebop again, which there's never a bad time to watch Cowboy Bebop. I've been addicted to that soundtrack recently; just cannot stop listening to it.
It was purely coincidental then that the intro song was from it.
Yeah. So, God, Cowboy Bebop soundtrack. Jesus Christ. Yeah. I use it. I overuse it in all my videos, but it deserves it. All right.
It's diverse.
Yeah. I think that's the only new game I've been playing. Human Resource Machine. I've played some Rocket League. It came up with an update. 2 updates. There's a Halloween update, which is what you would expect. And there's a Back to the Future update where they actually added the DeLorean into the game.
Hey, Skippy, did you know that Back to the Future, it came true? Mm-hmm. It was the day. And all the news people, for a day was about
here's
Back
the thing.
to the Future.
A lot of people were being really cynical about that shit and saying, like, oh, boy, here we go. Everyone's going to ruin the Back to the Future thing. It's literally one day. It's not annual. It's one day. It came around once. It's never going to happen again.
Yeah.
You can enjoy it while
There's definitely too much.
Let people have their fun, though.
I wasn't shitting on people, but that was just a one comment.
Yeah, I know.
But I did see lots of tweets like, "Oh my God, Back to the Future is ruined for me."
Yeah.
It's just become a meme. And then there was some guy posted from real life, said, "I never even liked Back to the Future," and it's like, come on, who are you?
Yeah, they put the movies on the Amazon Prime like instant video list, and basically Amazon's Netflix. And I actually watched the first 2 movies like a couple days ago.
Oh, yeah.
They're good movies. The one where they go to the future is legitimately fun to go back to because it's like they go to an antique shop and it's got a bunch of 80s stuff in it. And I literally, in the last couple months, have been doing an antique shop that had the exact same stuff in it. Like they had a Burger Time game in the window. And I remember seeing a Burger Time game in the antiques place I went to. I could say it wasn't like antiques, but it's, old stuff compiled in a shop. But I just thought that was funny. But anyway,
I played. I'm just moving on, I guess. Is that
sure.
what you were about to do?
Well, I was gonna say the update to Rocket League was actually like surprisingly well done for the Back to the Future thing, because it's like they legitimately added in this DeLorean, and you know how you can like fly with the rockets in that game?
Yeah.
When you do that, it like folds up the wheels and turns into the flying DeLorean, and when someone gets blown up as a DeLorean, it does the going Back to the Future thing with like the skid marks on the ground that are on fire, and then the little license plate spins and falls. It was like, wow, like they went all in for that thing. I thought that was cool.
That game's been staying around.
It's been staying with me. I'm still playing it pretty regularly.
Does it have an active player base still?
Yeah, definitely.
That's good.
It has a ranking system too, kind of like a simple system similar to CS:GO. And it works okay. I sometimes you're playing against people a lot better and sometimes a lot worse, but it's better than nothing. I'm enjoying it.
I actually, to change the subject, I just started playing Street Fighter 4.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So for months I've been going down the Smash rabbit hole, and I've been getting better and learning all the technical things, and it's gotten to where the people that I used to play with, they don't want to play with me anymore because I know the things to do, It's
Got
not
too
even a
good.
matter of being especially skilled, but just because I've played it enough, I know like okay, this is the best option in this circumstance, and this is how you wave dash back forward smash that keeps them at range. And if you don't know that stuff, then you're just hopelessly disadvantaged.
Mhm.
So I've turned to like this matchmaking service, this thing called Smash Ladder, where you play with other tryhards.
I can't believe that that's a thing.
It's kind of cool that a game for the GameCube with no formal
That's
matchmaking thing now
crazy.
has ranked multiplayer.
That's
online.
awesome. I love that makes me a little bit hopeful for like our really dark digital only future of like games not being supported anymore when they go offline and stuff. I feel like fans of really good games will always keep those games going no matter what the. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, so one of those people who don't want to play with me for Smash anymore, they suggested Street Fighter 4 because they had just picked it up and I hadn't played it really at all. I played Street Fighter 2 like once for 10 minutes, so I really don't know how to play. And I'm learning. That's all I can say. It feels really weird and awkward, and that's probably just the learning curve. But
I mean, it's a completely different playstyle from Smash. Like, it's
Yeah.
pretty much as different as you can get while being kind of in the same genre. But even then, can you even call it the same genre? Even
you stay very close and try to
Yeah.
keep each other at range, and it's all I don't know. It feels very like restricting after playing Smash for such a long time.
sure.
Because most of the time you're just jumping up real quick. You're not having half of the game in the air usually. And just moving backwards to block is so unintuitive to me right now. I just don't get it. Why? But it works for the people who like it, and I'll get used to it, I guess.
I've never really gotten into a fighting game before. Like I've played like probably like 5 minutes in my entire life of Street Fighter. It's just like I don't even really know the basics of those games, and it feels like I'm completely missing out on a major part of kind of video games. But
Well,
at the same time, I don't really have much of a wish to play any of those.
like I used to play CS:GO a lot, and I got really frustrated with it because I would just, especially the people I play with, I would too often be carrying a losing team, or if I'm just randoming or playing with good people like you guys, then I'll be the worst player on a good team, and I just don't. That's not fun to me.
Yeah.
I like to be able to blame only myself when I
Sure.
fail, and I like to be able to fully, like, I don't know what you would call it, fully assume the victory when you earn it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's scratching an itch that I didn't really know I had, which is nice.
That is nice. Speaking of scratching an itch, I forgot to mention completely that last weekend was a race weekend for me. Another race weekend. I went to the Virginia International Raceway, which is a pretty famous racetrack. It's now my favorite one that I've been to, and it's kind of in the middle of nowhere in Virginia, in the middle of the like mountains. But it's a very long track with a lot of like elevation change hills, a lot of different kinds of corners. You go uphill through these quick left and right corners at over like 100 miles an hour, and then you crest the hill at a corner going at 90 miles an hour, and you can't see what's over the hill, and it's the scariest thing in the world, but it's also like super fun. And I did pretty well. I had a really good weekend. I qualified higher, like in comparison to the people who I was around in the in the starting the race. I was qualified better than I ever had before, and considering it was my first time at the track, and all of them had been there for at least a couple years, and so I was really, really excited, and then I couldn't quite keep up during the actual race because so I'm going to get into it a little bit because I want to talk about
Please.
this. So with the Miata
At
racing,
least it's not wrestling.
yeah, well, I could talk about that, but it's been wrestling is worse than it has been since I started watching it. It's awful. Like I've heard that it gets really bad during football season because ratings start declining and they get desperate. it's unbelievable, but I won't talk about that. So with Miata Racing, it's super competitive at the top of the field where people are, you know, have been racing for years and they've got good cars and they know what they're doing. And it's so competitive that what it ends up happening is the first like 5 to 8 cars tend to get into kind of a pack or like a train where they're like just bumper to bumper, nose to tail, going around the track right with each other, and every once in a while passing each other and stuff, but just all with each other, and they've all got. So the draft helps a lot in that situation, and they're going faster than everyone else on the track, partly because the guys in the back don't have any wind resistance, and they're physically pushing on the bumpers of the people in front of them,
Yeah.
and going
I think
faster.
you told
than
me
they-
about this.
Yeah, the bump drafting is crazy. I mean, we do a ton of bump drafting, and it makes a big difference. And so, for the first time ever, I'm at the back of that pack that I'd never been in before, and and so I'm trying to follow them around like this blind corner over a hill at 90 miles an hour, and you can't see. If you can imagine like being in a parking spot right behind another car where your bumper's literally on their car, you can't. Your field of vision is terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm having to kind of drive like through the windshield in front of me of the guy in front of me, but then there's a car in front of him, so I can't see the track basically, and I'm having to rely on like what I know of this track that I just learned as to like when to brake and when to turn in and stuff, and just hope to God that I'm doing the right thing, because it could just be disastrous. And I did okay for the first couple of laps, and then I made the tiniest mistake. There's a corner where you're all the way left and you have to switch all the way to the right really quickly, and you have to do it in a certain way to keep the wheels gripped, or else your back end's going to slip out and you're going to lose some speed. And it's right before a really long high-speed section, so if you lose even a little bit of speed at the beginning, it kills you. And my back end went out just a little bit, and I had to counter steer just a little bit, and I just watched the bumper of the guy in front of me just slowly move away, and then I was screwed for the rest of the race because I wasn't in that draft. I was gone. It was just like that tiny little mistake. But that's what it is. It's like these guys have gotten to the point where they barely make any mistakes, and you have to be totally consistent to keep up, and it's crazy. It's really exhilarating. It's a ton of fun, and I've got some of those videos with me on a hard drive, and I think I'm gonna. I've been saying this for a while about my racing videos, but I'm gonna try to do something with them, put something together, maybe edit something really in a really simple way so that people can see it, because it's unlike anything else. It's crazy. So there you go, racing update.
I mean that would actually be neat. I would watch that.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. The in-car footage is it's exciting racing. It's good stuff. So, yeah.
Well, what else is going on?
Well,
Mr.
I guess
Host, because
yeah. I don't think I have any other video game stuff to talk about other than news and whatnot. We're finally in the part of the year where video games start to come out for Black Friday deals, you know, like we're getting into November almost, and so God, what I think Halo 5 is either out or coming out very soon. The new Call of Duty, the new Assassin's Creed, which hey, there's a new Assassin's Creed and it's out.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
It's the Industrial Revolution one.
It's out already?
Yeah. Turns out nobody cares about Assassin's Creed. I don't know. It looks better than the last one. Still Assassin's Creed, yeah. Let's see. The Rock Band and Guitar Hero are either out or coming out. Jesus Christ. What else?
I heard that Rock Band 4 was pretty fun.
It's the same as the old ones from what I've seen. It's literally just them moving those onto a new platform. Same instruments and everything. The Guitar Hero is the one that has completely changed everything.
Right. I'm kind of interested in the Guitar Hero one. But
I'm
I
interested.
do like the drums.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about. I've watched a lot of footage of actually the new Guitar Hero, and it doesn't look as much fun as the 5. You know, now it's 3 rows with 2 buttons on each.
Yeah.
So like a forward button and a rear button, I guess you could call it, and that gives you plenty of combinations, but I felt like part of the fun of the original was learning how to press those 5 buttons with 4 fingers, and you know, on the normal difficulty you don't even like use the last 2 buttons, but then you start to kick it up and you start to use them, and that's what I don't know.
That's one of my
I
strongest
can't imagine not
memories of that series is learning how to go from
the orange button, man.
Yeah, from normal or medium to hard, where they add the orange, and you have to start sliding your hand down. That was so cool.
And it's a cool feeling to start to learn that and start to get into it. And I was watching like the expert stuff on this version, and it doesn't feel. You don't get that feeling of like, oh my god, this is crazy. Like if you watch someone do through the fire and flames or whatever in Guitar Hero, where it's like I can't even imagine trying to do that. But this one, it's like, no, I can totally imagine doing that. Like, it doesn't look... I'm sure it's tough.
By the way.
I'm not surprised at all.
I spent a weekend in high school and did it.
I can't believe you've got like all the medals in fucking Rhythm Heaven.
I like.
You're an autist.
Games.
You really are.
Oh my god, says Mr. I'm gonna multiply numbers using words.
All right. Point taken. But anyway, yeah, it just doesn't look crazy on the expert level. It just doesn't, and
Which
it just
is
doesn't
part of
look
the
like
appeal.
it has that. Yeah.
If Through the Fire and Flames didn't look so fucking crazy, I wouldn't have tried to learn how to do it.
Yeah. And like being able just to visualize, like, okay, if it's on the right side, it tends to be the higher notes, and on the left side it tends to be the lower notes. There's none of that with the new one. It's just they're just there. I don't like it at all. And then they've got the crazy FMV stuff, which like kudos to them for trying that crazy Have you seen it? Have you seen like
No.
You should watch a Guitar Hero, one of the new Guitar Hero songs where it's got the FMV going on. Like what they did was it's crazy what they did. They put a camera on a machine that can move it around in every direction, and they got their fake band up there to play the songs, and they got a fake crowd to be right there on the stage, like near the stage, and then they CGI'd and like the rest of the crowd, and they played 2 versions, one where you're playing well and one where you're not playing well, and the camera follows the same pattern, but you know if you're not playing well, the drummer will look at you like, what's going on, man? And the crowd will be like, no, boo! And then if you're playing well, they start cheering and getting into it.
That's kind of
cool. Like, nobody expected them to go that way. Like, it's like, holy shit, I can't believe they pulled something like that off. But it looks totally goofy. And maybe not in a good way. I don't know. I feel like there's a certain amount of camp that, like, that's really appealing about
Having
that.
the actual people seems to conflict with some of that camp. Like
it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like in a bad way. I just
part of what was so cool about Guitar Hero versus Rock Band was just it had interesting design, especially the third one.
It had a style. Like it wasn't you know, it wasn't crazy interesting to look at or anything, but it worked.
Yeah, but you saw, you know, you had the huge chinned skinny singer, and then the guy well, what's his name?
I would never remember the names of the...
Death.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Grim Reaper.
I thought he had a separate name.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, all these cool characters, the devil you could play as, and God even. It was cool. It had personality.
More importantly, that's easier to make and makes more sense, especially from like a long-term business plan idea, because basically like not all their songs have this FMV option, and if they don't, they just play the music video, which like, okay.
Really?
Fine.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's just weird. The whole thing's weird. I don't like it. I want to play the old one. I want to play new songs on the old guitar, and I guess that's what Rock Band's for now. But I also don't want to buy a whole Rock Band set. You know?
Yeah, that's my problem.
And I never want to be the guy who hosts the parties or anything. So just like,
I've still got my Rock Band drums, but one of them's kind of broken and doesn't quite work so well. So I don't really want to play it. And I wouldn't want to buy a new one either.
I would buy just a guitar, but then like, It's weird what they've done with those things.
At this point, I'd rather just crack down and learn how to play the drums better.
Sure, yeah. Like I've got this keyboard here, and just before we came on, I was actually like learning songs on it, just goofing around on it, which is in the long term, it's more satisfying, but it's also so much harder.
Well, it's not even okay. So. This is maybe it's not leaving the subject of these games, but on the Beeftard cast, Nick and Michael, they got all elitist about, "Ooh, well, why don't you just learn how to play a real guitar?"
Yeah, there's always those
And
people.
fuck that. It's not like, "Hey, look at me, I'm playing Rock Band, aren't you
Yeah.
impressed?" It's just fun.
You learn how to play Guitar Hero on Expert in maybe, like, what, 40 or 50 hours, at least on, like, doing okay.
Yeah.
A real guitar, 40 or 50 hours in, and you've got the 4 chords down, maybe, and you can switch between them kind of fast, maybe. Like, the learning
Well,
curve
they're
is
not
not at
even-
all. It's not even comparable.
They're
It's
not
completely-
even, like, comparable. It's not,
Yeah.
like, they're separate skills. Playing
Yeah.
Guitar Hero is not like playing Guitar Light. It's just a completely different thing. It's an abstract
It's a video
representation.
game. It's still
yeah,
just a video game.
it's not. Yeah,
And
it's
people,
not even simplified guitar. It's
Yeah,
not
people
what
who
it
don't
is.
play it always judge you because they say, like, well, you might as well just learn a real guitar instead of, and it's just, yeah, they don't
Why would you
understand.
play
They
a
don't get-
fighting game? Why don't
they
you
don't
just learn how to
understand
box? Like, fuck you.
They don't understand us. So, God, let's see. Halo 5, nothing to talk about there, I don't think, really. Call of Duty, nothing to talk about.
What's the new Call of Duty? I have no idea what the new Black Ops 3, right? Okay, that's it.
Yes, it is. I guess. Who gives a shit? Apparently, like, I think pretty much the zombies mode is, like, now what people play Call of Duty for. Like, for the most part. That's the impression that I get from people in real life who I know who play Call of Duty. I don't know why they don't just
most
go all the
people
way.
in real life I know who bought Call of Duty. What is it? Advanced Warfare. They bought it because of Kevin Spacey.
Okay. Yeah.
That's where we're at.
Thanks, video games.
But dude, he's in House of Cards.
The Nintendo. This is just news. This isn't new video games coming out. Have you heard that Nintendo has started sending out NX development kits
Yes.
to developers? So they're already apparently pushing their new console forward internally, which makes me not want to buy a Wii U.
If I hadn't bought a Wii U yet and I wasn't interested in Smash, then what would be the deciding factor for me is if the new Zelda is going to come out on Wii U.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's been announced for Wii U, but at this point, I kind of have serious doubts.
I
about
have a
whether
feeling
it's
they'll
gonna come out.
they'll announce it. I mean, they'll release it on the Wii U, and then they'll release an HD version on the next console.
You know what? I don't think that's going to happen. Because there have been ever more credible rumors of a Twilight Princess HD. So I think
It would be really weird to go through an entire generation
it
without
would,
a Zelda game.
but
That's like crazy.
it would be the second time Twilight Princess is on the cusp of a new console.
Yeah, that's Nintendo. What a weird company.
Yeah.
I hate it because I feel like I know for a fact that I'm missing out on a ton of awesome stuff on the Wii U, and I would love Mario Maker and stuff, but I just don't feel like it's worth getting a whole console to play it, and that sucks. It really sucks. Same with the other consoles
well,
too, but
you know,
the Wii U in particular.
At the very least, when NX comes out, Wii U will drop in price, and there you go.
Yeah. Ugh. Oh boy. All right.
But yeah, they're also continuing Nintendo Directs, but I think we might have already talked about that.
Yeah. What have I put on here? Konami. Oh.
I think this is old.
No, it isn't. You think
Oh,
it's
is it
old
not?
because this is an update.
Oh,
And I meant to read more into this.
it got
but
worse?
Yeah, this is an update to the Konami selling you insurance in Metal Gear Solid. So it turns out, like everyone, like not a lot of people really actually like that FOB stuff to begin with. And so when they started selling the insurance and people realized they were like losing all their shit, they said, "All right, well, I'll just play Metal Gear Solid offline then." Well, if you play Metal Gear Solid 5 offline, the game automatically withholds a portion of your resources. I
Oh
don't know
my
how it's done,
God.
like every day or something like that, until you sign in.
Oh my god. Why?
Because they want you to sign in and then get your stuff stolen so that you can buy their insurance with real money.
That question didn't really need an answer.
It's literally
God damn it.
mobster
Holy
tactics.
shit.
Like it's it's like walking into a butcher shop and saying, "It'd be a shame if someone broke your windows. Give us money so that we won't break your windows."
Oh man!
Except that you've sold them the butcher shop to begin with.
This is what. This is a company that isn't going to make any more AAA video games.
Yeah, it's obviously the actions of a company that is just done.
They do not give a fuck anymore. Their reputation in the gaming market means nothing anymore to them.
And I don't think they cared that much about it before either.
Yeah, because it's always economically, it's always a trade-off of I could probably fuck customers over in the short term and squeeze out some more money now, but then that'll damage my reputation later. Now that is completely not a concern. They can and have been doing anything to monetize MGS5.
Metal Gear Online still seems largely unscathed from that and actually pretty good. So it doesn't come out on PC for, I don't remember how long, but quite a while. But it actually looks legitimately fun to me.
Okay.
So at least they're probably, I don't know. I don't know why they're not just microtransactioning the shit out of that, but whatever. I'm glad they aren't.
I'll withhold judgment on MGS.
Yeah. So another thing that's being released around this time are these Steam machines that we've been hearing so much about for so long. Which, if you don't know what a Steam machine is, it's basically... Well, there's a lot of different kinds of Steam machines. The expensive kind is like you can get like an Alienware actual PC, and it's meant to go in your living room, and it can run the Steam operating system on it, and it works kind of like a console, except that you can play Steam games. But only Steam games that are Linux-based, or that they've transferred over to be able to be played on Linux, because it's the Steam OS and not Windows. There's also Steam machines or Steam boxes or something where you can stream from your computer to the TV and stuff like that. But what I wanted to talk about was the Steam machines that are actually PCs that you put in your living room, because so they're making these through a third party like Alienware. There's a lot of different third parties that they offer them through. And like I said, the idea is that you can get Steam OS on it to play your games like a console.
Yeah.
But the companies that are offering the Steam machines are also offering the exact same devices with Windows installed on them that could play all of Steam's library, not just the ones that are Linux compatible.
Yeah.
So why would you get a Steam machine with Steam operating system on it?
Beats me.
Beats me too. So I don't know what the fuck Steam is doing with it. Valve's whole hardware, the entry into the hardware market seems totally crazy to me.
Well, okay.
The controller seems cool. I've actually pre-ordered one of those controllers.
The controller is, definitely cool. But Steam Link is very cool.
It's a good idea, at least. I don't know.
Apparently it's... Wait, maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but I'm pretty sure it just streams desktop to your TV. I would do that in a heartbeat. I would...
Especially if you have the Steam controller, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know that you need Steam hardware to do that, though. I feel like there's probably plenty of other products on the market that do the exact same thing, but I have heard that those work just fine. You get a little bit of latency, you get a little bit of compression and that kind of stuff, but that, that's cool. That makes a whole lot more sense than buying a whole PC that can only play Linux-compatible games.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you can also buy the same thing at the same price that will play all of those games and more. Crazy. But yeah, that's... Oof. Whatever.
Yeah, I think I'll actually buy a Steam Link. The controller, I don't know.
I've never been to play games from the couch, kind of... Ever since I moved to PC, I've never gone back, never looked back.
Well, what's always been
part
the
of it is
hassle
that
for me...
my setup sucks back there, but...
Yeah, what's always been the hassle for me, though, is that I don't want to move my shit around. And sometimes I want to play something like Super Meat Boy, or even Undertale, maybe. VVVVV. Just like a very simple game that you play with a controller. I didn't play Undertale with a controller, but you can, and it works fine.
Yeah.
And you just got to sit there at your monitor, which, I don't know, I kind of like getting comfortable and settling into the couch and turning the lights off, and that's...
If I had So my TV was. I got my TV for a much smaller room than it is in currently. I've got a much larger living room than I've ever had before, and my couch is all the way on the other side just because of the way it kind of the restrictions of how you have to set up this room with the where the cable is and stuff. And so like my TV is a terrible place to play video games because it's too far away from the couch, and just my setup just kind of sucks. And so I might as well just sit on my computer. And I love like headphones and being close to the monitor. Even if I'm playing with a controller, I think I kind of prefer. But I understand. I do understand.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't prefer it. It's just like if, especially somebody in the chat just pointed this out. Especially if I'm trying to play a game with somebody else in the room.
Oh yeah.
Something like Ethan Carter. My brother and I was watching him play Ethan Carter for the first time after I'd already finished it, and it was just kind of awkward because I'm like sitting next to him while he's at the computer, and it's just.
I've had friends watch me play stuff on the computer where it's like, oh, hang on, let me like hook up the speakers to the computer instead of my headphones so you can hear it, and also like sit like on my bed, I guess. Just like, yeah, and there's a lot of games that are PC only that are also multiplayer, like local multiplayer, that I would love to be able to play in a couch type setting, but haven't ever had the chance to. So that's a good point. There's definitely a market for that, at least. I don't see the market for the Steam machine, but
especially Steam OS. But I guess if I had to understand why they want to do that, it's because Xbox wants to draw you into their ecosystem, just like Origin does, where you can buy games from the Microsoft Store, and if you're on Steam OS, you won't see that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't imagine there are people savvy enough to use Steam for most of their games and not understand, like
yeah
it just doesn't. I could see it making a lot of sense if the audience was different, but PC gamers, true PC gamers, they know their stuff generally.
Yeah. I think that there could be a potential market if you got like NVIDIA. If NVIDIA decided to make basically a console where it could keep the drivers up to date and automatically select settings for the PC games that it's playing, where people who don't understand that kind of stuff don't have to worry about it, because it already kind of does that on your computer anyway with the GeForce Experience, all that stuff. If they could implement that into a console that plays PC games, I could kind of see a potential for like
but then already
grabbing some console.
But then
players,
already part of the trouble is you have Alienware and all these different companies making their own Steam machines with their own parts.
Yeah.
And so you already lose that console optimization benefit,
or at least it being a unified experience, because you're going to get some that look better than others and stuff. And I don't know if there's ever going to be really a solution to that, although I don't think there also needs to be a solution to it. I just think that there is an untapped market there, because I know plenty of people who I talk to about the video games that I play on the computer, and they're like, oh my god, I wish I could play those games, but I'm not going to spend all that money on a computer. I've already got my console, da 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 da. And if they could just, if they could get a PC that works the exact same way as their Xbox, they would totally do it, but it doesn't really exist. And Steambox, I don't really think goes all the way. So that's all weird. A couple of other news stories that I just found as I scramble here to to find the stuff I meant to talk about. So Jason Schreier at Kotaku, sorry, that's my phone going crazy. The Kotaku dude, he wrote an article about Destiny and kind of what went wrong. He interviewed like 6 different developers from Bungie about kind of the year prior to the game being released, and apparently they had, when there was about a year left, I think, before the release date, which could not be pushed back under Activision's contract, the writers had like a concept video put out for their story that they've come up with, and I think it's kind of like almost like a trailer that just kind of goes through for the executives to see, saying like, here's the story that we've put together. And apparently nobody liked it, And there's some
Really?
disagreement. There's some disagreement as to whether they didn't like it because the video itself wasn't put together in the right way to show the story the way it should have been shown, or whether the story was just a complete mess that didn't make a lot of sense and that wasn't very good. But
I somehow doubt that.
well, they opted to apparently just scrap the whole thing and rewrite it. And they reused, assets and scenes and stuff, but they completely just rewrote it outright.
That explains so much. To
Yes, definitely. And I think that's kind of a small. It focuses on the story specifically and stuff, but I feel like that probably happened with some other aspects of that game, and just like, oh man,
I mean,
it's crazy.
the other the other aspects of that game were very polished, I'd say, especially for a console.
Yeah, but I know that there were some problems with it, like just the way that like the leveling works and the loot and all that stuff just needed some ironing out.
But even that, I was still into it because when I first started playing it, I kind of liked it.
You loved it, yeah. You were having a lot of fun with it at first.
The trouble is, it's just there's no story really. It's all just a bunch of hot air, and it just feels pointless. And a last-minute rewrite would explain a lot of the game's trouble. Because it introduces some characters and then they don't go anywhere and then disappear, and
credit to them, everything that I've heard about the latest expansion, they've been totally doing a really good job of kind of not necessarily fixing that 100%, but working towards making that what you would assume to be their true vision from the beginning.
Like I was very interested in the mystery, actually.
Yeah, me too. When I first heard about the game,
very
it was
mysterious, and there's this darkness, and we, in ancient times, terraformed the rest of the solar system, and it's just cool. It's a really cool setting, and it goes nowhere. And
we know that Bungie is competent at making that kind of setting and story.
More than competent.
Yeah,
they're extremely good at it.
So it was surprising to hear about the story and everything. And then of course they hide everything behind like codex or whatever, like where you have to get on the website or get on an app on your phone to like learn more about
grimoire.
That's a terrible way to do things, I think. I mean, I understand it, but
they wanted all that smartphone integration.
Yeah, that's part of it. And also I think they didn't want to intimidate players who were just because like Destiny's demographic is right down there with like Call of Duty.
You know what though? The descriptions being accessible on your phone, that was cool to me. If I actually cared about what was in them, I would have liked that, because
but that's the problem.
It would be very convenient to have the game running, especially if you don't have it at your desk like I do and can quickly switch back and forth in two monitors to look at this stuff. If you're on your couch playing Destiny, you don't have to leave your game session or even bring up a menu. You can just check something out, and then because there's a lot of standing around and just hanging out with some random people at the Citadel or whatever it's called. I've already forgotten. It's
I think they should have implemented more of that into the game so that you could be interested into it and interested enough to look it up on the phone. Yeah, but.
Like the most standout thing was this girl character, this female guardian, who like watches you from the beginning and like tracks your progress and is like mysterious, and what is her motivation and how did she get here before we did, but at the end she's just like I'll keep watching you, and then she gives you a cool gun, and that's it. It felt like she was meant to be very important to a story that just didn't exist.
Anyway, go read that article if you're interested in at least part of what went wrong during Destiny's development. But there are also some surprising things of like, I guess they were planning to do that the whole time. Like the scope of the game, apparently from the beginning, was always just kind of like go to these planets, and that game seems very small, but I guess you kind of have to be kind of small to plan all the stuff they're going to expand upon it in the next decade. Mm-hmm. Weird that they entered that whole contract, because their whole idea of leaving Microsoft, at least ostensibly, what they told people was to have more freedom, and then they go to Activision. That's one more piece of news, but I don't even know if you can really call this news. Kojima left Konami, but he's only gone temporarily, according to Konami. He's just on a vacation or something. I don't remember what exactly their statement on it is, but they've basically like
They said that he's on vacation.
yeah, they've tried to like hide the fact that he's leaving or something, which is just totally.
They had a going away party for him.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense.
And now, while he's gone, Konami is. The rumors were that he has a non-compete until December.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
So, yeah, whatever. We all know what's going on.
Yeah.
Nobody's fooled. But I don't know if the intent is to fool us either.
That's. But what is the intent in like being all secretive about it?
I don't know.
Maybe we'll never know.
Say. I mean, I guess they don't. No, I can't even think. I can't even think of.
Yeah.
A reason. I don't even know why they have the non-compete in there, because he wouldn't be competing with them anymore.
They're not making
AAA games.
Maybe that's just a remnant of a long time ago.
A business thing. It might be like it's standard procedure that if you take the non-compete, then you might get a little larger severance or
whatever.
However they choose to do it.
Can't wait to see what he does next, though.
I am excited for whatever he does.
One last thing that I forgot to mention that I did. I started listening to the Welcome to Night Vale podcast. Have you ever heard about that thing?
I have no idea what that is.
It's a really neat concept. It's a podcast that lasts like 20 minutes, and it's, I guess, bi-weekly. And the concept is that it's a news radio show in this small town in the middle of the desert called Night Vale, where like paranormal, mysterious, spooky, crazy shit is just constantly happening, and like not really surprising. So it's just they kind of like report on it like it's just nothing. It's comedy pretty much. Like it's not actually trying to be scary. It's just using the horror theme to make jokes about just how like. I don't really even know how to describe the jokes. The first thing I thought of was Douglas Adams. If you've ever read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the way he'll describe...
I love Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Me too. The way that Douglas Adams offhandedly describes certain crazy aspects of the universe...
he and Terry Pratchett are really good at doing
I've never read a Terry Pratchett thing.
If you like Douglas Adams, you'll like
Terry Pratchett. I need to. I've been meaning to. But anyway, yeah, the way he just offhandedly explains things that are happening that, like, if they were to be explained, the joke would be lost, because the idea is that you feel it in your mind and you go like, wait, what? What did he just say about that? It's got that kind of feel to it, and it was really so. It's sad because I don't want to listen to any more of it. I've listened to maybe like 4 or 5 episodes, and then I looked it up online. Made the mistake of looking it up online. It has a terrible fan base. For whatever reason, it attracted what seems to me to be the kind of Tumblr.
It seems like it would be right up Reddit no sleeps alley.
Not quite though, because it's not trying to be just scary. It's also funny. It's not even really trying to be scary. It's just funny. Like it doesn't scare you. It's just using that to make the jokes. It's more up Tumblr alley of like Doctor Who fans and stuff. You know the type. And
are you a Whovian? I'm a Whovian.
Yeah, the Whovians and the Holmesians and the anyway, like teenage girls and stuff who say like, "Oh, it's funny and nobody else understands it and only I get it because it's crazy and so random." And a lot of the jokes do
it's a problem that Undertale's run into.
A little bit, but Undertale's not quite as bad, I don't think, or at least not yet. But a lot of the jokes are that kind of also random thing that attracts those kinds of people, and so anyway, apparently it attracted that fan base and then embraced it because hey, it's a huge fan base and it's making them a lot of money, and according to people on the internet, they've started to kind of pander to those people and like do some really stupid shit that I don't want any part of, like making actual characters that you're supposed to care about and like exploring relationships between those characters and stuff. And it's like, no. What I like about this podcast is that he mentions in 15 seconds an incident where an airliner disappeared over the town and then later appeared in the gymnasium during basketball practice, and they blamed it on their rival basketball team. Shit like that is what's entertaining about it, not the characters, you know. And I don't even want to keep listening to it because I know that it'll just go downhill very slowly. and I like it as a concept, and now I'm just going to keep it that way, I think. But anyway, it was worth mentioning because I just think it's neat. And I did mention. Did I mention on the last podcast the no sleep thing, or did I just mention that on Twitter?
You mentioned it on Twitter.
Yeah, I only recently discovered that, and I didn't get it at first because I didn't read the rules or whatever, and I didn't know anything about it. So I thought that it was people who didn't realize that they were being made fools of. But then, I started reading more stories, and some of them are just totally over the top. I just happened to stumble across one of the stories that was more, maybe not believable, but just kind of not crazy out there or anything. And all the responses were people like, I told my kids not to be careful in the woods because your story is so scary, and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
He's making it up.
One of the first ones I read was this guy being haunted by these people or these creatures who walked around in human skin.
Yeah,
so it was probably a more accurate introduction to what that is.
Yeah. I might go back to that forum because I do like short horror stories, creepy pasta or whatever. That's cool. I've always thought of writing one of those because I think it'd be fun.
I prefer short scary stories. There's another subreddit called Short Scary Stories, and it's like No Sleep but just shorter even.
Yeah, I might like that more.
No Sleep Now. I don't go there very often, but it's good. But they've been getting really long. People have been going for the wall of text.
My problem with most of them is that I get really into them when it's all mysterious and you don't really know what's going on, and then it reaches a point where there's just all these tropes and cliches that come with that kind of creepy pasta genre, and it always turns me off when. So you either get characters that tell you don't speak about this to anyone, don't tell anyone, that kind of thing, where it's really and then you get
there's always the twist,
and the protagonist's actions never make sense. Why didn't you go to the police about this crazy thing that happened or whatever? And then there's always a moment where something happens that's completely unexplainable, except it's a ghost or it's a monster, and sometimes that's okay, but I like the ones that are that kind of leave it open-ended, where you don't really know what happened, and maybe it was a ghost, but maybe it wasn't.
Not in terms of realism.
I like the vaguer stuff.
But the spirit of No Sleep in general reminds me of it's not quite as good or even close to as good, but it's in the same vein as the SCP containment wiki.
Yeah. God,
man,
I loved that in concept, and then that just start.
The video games kind of, That's
it entered it became a part of the mainstream consciousness, and then people just totally went crazy with that shit.
The strange objects, like the closet full of ridiculously intricate gears that processes things into other things without real clear explanation, just very weird but frightening in a kind of dignified way. Almost.
Have you heard of Marble Hornets?
No.
So before Slender Man was a thing, when it was still just kind of I guess a something awful thing or whatever, a guy started a YouTube channel called Marble Hornets where he was documenting his kind of mysterious things happening to him, and
wait, were these the Slender Man videos?
It was Slender Man videos, but it wasn't Slender Man has become this stupid monster thing but it was more like he was just kind of like this thing that watches from the shadows, and
Yes.
it started that whole like, oh, the camera gets staticky when he's nearby, because that's what it started doing in these videos. But it was really well done, at least at first. I think he went way too far with it. I haven't been watching it or anything, but I started watching it like really early on before it kind of started to catch on, and I was totally addicted. I was having so much fun watching those videos, and they were really creepy because he made it very realistic, the way that like he was kind of freaked out about what was going on in the videos, and wasn't doing a ton of stupid shit, and there was like a little bit of a storyline going, but not to the point of like a writer who wants to create a story, just kind of like a story that keeps you engaged, and that was a lot of fun. And then it turned out that he actually lived in Birmingham, and that all the places that he was going to and filming were in like within like 10 minutes of where I was. So I got with a friend, and we like started going to locations.
That's
and
cool.
That was really neat. It was a lot of fun. So anyway, that I don't know. I think that they kept going with that thing to a stupid degree, which again, like, I just think that people need to know when to stop and keep it vague and keep it mysterious, instead of just launching into this whole tangent of craziness that they tend to get carried away with. But anyway, God, this is a video game podcast, and I think we're out of things to talk about.
Yep.
And I actually need to go because I'm going to be meeting someone tonight. So. Whew. Good stuff. The end of season 2.
Tune in next week for season 3.
It is the end of the first episode of season 2, in which we will be amping up the production with our newfound money that we're getting from DraftKings and from donations from you, our lovely viewers who have been giving us the jump scares. No, that's not actually happening. In case you're confused, we're not doing that stuff. We still are making zero money, $0 out of this podcast. We do it for the fans. It's totally altruistic.
Cast, ladies and gentlemen.
Anyway, we need to wrap it up. We need to leave. We need to get out of here.
See ya.
So, everyone have a good night.